I am the number 1-inch pretty but useless beauty in the capital, yet I married the stern and exceptionally brilliant censor. After marriage he was cold, distant and rarely smiled. But one day, I suddenly heard his inner thoughts. This memorial is a complete mess, worries are making me bald. If only my wife were here, letting me fiddle with her a bit, my inspiration would surely flow like a fountain. The lychee I was eating nearly choked me to death. Fiddle with me? How? Is it what I think it means?
Welcome to a journey of love and destiny under the moonlight. I'm the voice behind Moonlit Love Stories. Now let us step into the story.
Cui Jinyu sat behind his desk, dressed in a blue robe, a purple writing brush held between his slender, well-defined fingers. His handsome, stern face was slightly furrowed. He looked cold and aloof like a figure from a painting. Was that really his inner voice just now? I calmly walked to his side and tentatively asked, "Is my husband tired? Would you like me to massage your shoulders?" Cui Jinyu glanced up at me, his refined face still wearing that indifferent, distant expression. "How could I trouble you, madam? Husband, there's no need to stand on ceremony with me." I tentatively reached out and began kneading Cui Jinyu's shoulders. His peerlessly handsome face remained cold and expressionless, but then his slick move came. "Thank you, madam. You've worked hard." He patted my hand and then, as if unintentionally, took my hand in his. A few minutes later, his brush danced across the paper, inspiration seeming to gush forth. An essay of over 800 characters was completed in one go, without a single correction. And my hand remained in his palm, being kneaded and squeezed by him. I stood quietly by his side, eyes lowered, silently grumbling to myself. So this is what he meant when he said he wanted to fiddle with me? Heaven above, please forgive my wicked thoughts. I am the legitimate eldest daughter of the general's manor, betrothed to Cui Jinyu since childhood. When I transmigrated here 10 years ago, my birth mother had already passed away. My father's favorite concubine, Auntie Lu, managed the household and was determined to spoil me into uselessness. I went along with it and simply lazed around, eating, drinking, and having fun. Eventually, I earned the nickname number 1 pretty but useless beauty of the capital. Auntie Lu was overjoyed, her grin practically reaching her ears. She urged my father to approach Cui Jinyu, saying I was no longer worthy of him and suggesting Shen Yana replace me in the marriage. But Cui Jinyu was stubbornly principled. He adhered to the betrothal and married me anyway. On our wedding day, the people lining Vermilion Bird Street all sighed with pity for him. Everyone said a fresh flower like Cui Jinyu had been stuck on a pile of cow dung like me. The Cui family was a century-old, distinguished lineage with many rules. Cui Jinyu, being a serious and upright censor, was stern and unsmiling every day, and rather indifferent in matters of the bedchamber. In the over months since our marriage, I truly hadn't dared to act recklessly. In bed with such a peerless beauty right there, my mind was filled with filthy thoughts. In my dreams, I'd even drool over Cui Jinyu's toned waist, but I had to restrain myself again and again, not daring to be too forward. Who would have thought that Cui Jinyu was this kind of Cui Jinyu? What a delightful surprise. At night, I sat at the dressing table, doing my usual pre-sleep skincare. Cui Jinyu, wearing pristine white inner garments, sat leaning against the headboard, reading a book. The candlelight illuminated his sharply defined profile. His beauty was extreme, like an immortal banished from heaven. But his inner thoughts were, "From this angle, I must be exceptionally handsome. I've held this pose for a quarter of an hour now. Why hasn't Madame noticed me yet?" Ha ha ha, I nearly choked holding in my laughter. "Husband." I turned around with a smile, interrupting his internal monologue. Cui Jinyu elegantly set down the book, his face still the picture of calm composure. "Madam, what is it?" "I've long heard that my husband's painting skills are unparalleled, works that are difficult to obtain even for 1,000 pieces of gold. Could you paint a portrait of me?" I asked him with a smile. "Of course. Please wait a moment, madam. I will fetch my brushes and ink." Cui Jinyu rose gracefully. Painting a beauty by lamplight. Heaven knows how long I've wanted to do this. I never thought Madame would suggest it herself. This opportunity cannot be missed. Quick, quick, quick. Cui Jinyu hurried off to fetch his painting supplies, moving so fast he even bumped his head on the doorframe without slowing down. Ha ha ha, Chui Jinyu, oh Chui Jinyu, since you're this kind of Chui Jinyu, then I won't hold back. Let's see how long you can keep up the act. When I walked out of the bathing room, Chui Jinyu was bent over, spreading paper and grinding ink. But when he dipped his brush in ink and looked up at me, his eyes widened in shock. Under the flickering candlelight, I wore a crimson bathrobe. The robe was made of sheer gauze. The top didn't cover my shoulders properly, the bottom didn't cover my hips. My snow-white skin was vaguely visible. I stood there barefoot, affecting a delicate pose, and heard a cacophony of crashing sounds in Chui Jinyu's mind. Husband, may we begin? I looked at Chui Jinyu with an air of innocence. Chui Jinyu's Adam's apple bobbed violently. He stood stupefied. Even his inner voice was silent. Clearly, his brain had short-circuited. What? Is this inappropriate, husband? I lightly lifted a leg, asking shyly. Ah, it's fine, it's fine. Chui Jinyu's handsome face was flushed as if about to drip blood. He hurriedly lowered his head and made a few strokes on the paper. He took a few deep breaths, but the corners of his eyes were still red. His breathing was ragged, and a noticeable tent had formed under his moon-white inner robes. After forcing himself to paint a few more strokes, he finally tossed the invaluable purple brush aside. Desire surged in Chui Jinyu's eyes as he strode towards me. Why did you stop painting, husband? I covered my chest, blinking my eyes, asking innocently. Chui Jinyu didn't answer. He swept me up horizontally into his arms, strode swiftly to the bed, and laid me down. Haha, I haven't even used my big move yet, and he can't keep up the act. I buried my head in Chui Jinyu's chest, laughing inwardly like a smug villain. But the next moment I couldn't laugh anymore. Drip, drip, drip. Liquid dripped onto me. I reached out to touch it. It was blood. Ah, husband, blood. Your nose is bleeding. Someone call the physician. After that chaotic night, Chui Jinyu avoided me for several days. During these days he kept a stern face, looking exceptionally cold. The servants in the manor didn't dare to breathe too loudly. But every time I passed by him, I could hear him wailing inwardly. My dignity is ruined, utterly ruined. I was laughing hysterically inside, thinking, serves you right for putting on an act all day and being so repressed. Of course I couldn't say that out loud. Finally, on the day of the spring banquet, I approached Chui Jinyu first. Husband, are you fully recovered these past few days? I asked with a face full of genuine concern. Thank you for your concern, madam. I am much better. Chui Jinyu was dressed in his crimson official robe, a jade belt at his waist. His figure was tall and straight like a pine tree, truly magnificent and peerlessly handsome. However, his face was cold and he half turned away, not even giving me a full look. Suppressing my laughter, I cleared my throat and said seriously, Husband, I consulted a medical book. The spring weather is dry, which can easily lead to liver fire flaring up. Liver fire can cause nosebleeds. I personally prepared a sachet for you, containing chrysanthemums, cassia seeds, and other herbs. If you carry it with you, it should be beneficial for your health. I took out a sachet and solemnly presented it to Chui Jinyu. Chui Jinyu's expression froze for a moment, then his inner voice erupted with cheers. So madam thinks my nosebleed was due to the weather. How innocent she is. I've been feeling ashamed all for nothing. Thank you, madam. You are very thoughtful. A flicker of light passed through Chui Jinyu's eyes. He took the sachet and immediately tied it to his waist. Husband, today is the Prince of Qi's spring banquet. The Princess of Qi sent an invitation early this morning. Could you accompany me? I asked with a smile. The spring banquet. Ever since Mother had that accident at the spring banquet that year, I've never attended one again. His inner voice surprised me. I hadn't realized the spring banquet was a place of sad memories for him. I quickly said, if husband is busy, I can go alone. I'm free. Servants, prepare the carriage. Chui Jinyu forcefully interrupted me. Then he changed into casual clothes and accompanied me out. When Chui Jinyu and I arrived at the Prince of Qi's mansion, the place was already bustling with people. Lord Censor Chui is actually here? How rare. Is that his new wife, Shen Rui, beside him? She's indeed stunningly beautiful. Beautiful, yes, but utterly uneducated. If not for her status as the general's legitimate eldest daughter, how could she have married into the Chui family? Indeed, indeed, the number one pretty but useless beauty of the capital refers precisely to this madam. People pointed and whispered about me covertly. I was used to it. For the past 10 years since I deliberately started slacking off, people's gossip about me never went beyond these words. They said I had nothing but family background and looks. Listen, is that even an insult? If it is, then let the insults come more fiercely. However, I heard a gloomy inner voice from beside me. Vice Minister Huang, Junior Tutor Li, Commander Zhang. Clearly, your own wives are the ones who are ugly and misshapen. Yet you dare to gossip about my madam? Fine, fine, fine. I've remembered you all. I glanced pityingly at those few people gossiping about me. To be noted down by the cold-faced censor. How tragic. Cui Jinyu, radiating coldness, didn't greet those men. Instead, he directly led me past them, walking forward. We happened to meet the Prince of Qi and the Princess of Qi. The Princess of Qi also bore the surname Cui. She was Cui Jinyu's paternal aunt. Seeing us, the Princess of Qi was very warm, holding our hands and chatting for a long while. The cold aura around Cui Jinyu finally receded slightly. Your Highness, Aunt, Cui Jinyu said gently. The spring weather is dry, which can easily lead to liver fire flaring up. Please take care of your health. The Princess of Qi, probably hearing such words from Cui Jinyu for the first time, looked pleasantly surprised and praised repeatedly. Jinyu, you've truly changed after marriage. You've even learned to show concern and offer warm greetings. You flatter me, Aunt. It's just something I heard from my wife. The other day when I was unwell, my wife specifically consulted medical texts for me, and personally made this sachet for me to wear. Goodness, Cui Jinyu actually said so much in one go, stunning both the Prince and Princess of Qi. After a long moment, the Princess of Qi finally reacted and hurriedly said, Oh, Jinyu has truly married a wonderful wife, so considerate and virtuous. Jinyu, you are very fortunate. The Prince of Qi also chimed in. Yes, yes, it's truly enviable. Princess, when will you also make a sachet for me to wear? It's good that they're envious. I'm wearing this obvious sachet right here on my waist, and you didn't even notice? I had to point it out myself. Satisfied, Cui Jinyu led me away, continuing to discreetly show off his sachet to others. He even mentally boasted to a dog we passed. How do you know this is the sachet my wife made for me? Although I knew Cui Jinyu was inwardly a secret romantic, I was still defeated by his slick operations. Cui Jinyu, are you that starved for affection? Just a sachet. Do you have to show it off even to a passing dog? But for some reason, as I looked at his cold, aloof figure and listened to his joyful internal monologue, I felt an inexplicable pang of sadness. Husband, I'm tired from walking. Let's rest here. I pulled Cui Jinyu to sit on a bench by the lake. Grass grows long, orioles fly, it's the second month of spring. Willows on the dike, drunk in mist of spring. Lines from a poem. The breeze was gentle, a beauty by my side. This moment was truly pleasant. I squinted contentedly like a cat. That year, mother fell into this very lake and passed away in an accident. Cui Jinyu's inner voice sounded sorrowfully beside me. What? I reflexively jumped up. Stupid legs, stupid legs. Why get tired here of all places? A trace of unconcealed sorrow still lingered on Cui Jinyu's face as he turned to me in surprise. What's wrong, madam? Nothing. Suddenly I'm not tired anymore. How about we keep walking? Madam, please sit here with me for a while. Cui Jinyu patted the spot beside him. His hands were slender and well-defined, pale and elegant. His face was extraordinarily handsome, tinged with a trace of sorrow. That subtle sense of fragility made my heart ache, so I quickly obeyed and sat down beside him. Cui Jinyu's sharply defined face was expressionless as he stared at the lake, but his heart was filled with sad memories. That year at the spring banquet, my father's white moonlight deliberately fell into the lake here, wanting to frame mother. Mother jumped into the lake to save her. That one jump. She never came back up. Mother, I miss you so much. I miss the rabbit lanterns and malt candy you made for me. Mother, if only you were still alive, how wonderful that would be. The wife you personally chose for me, your son likes her very much. It's a pity you cannot see this with your own eyes. 9 out of 10 sinister tricks in the inner quarters involve falling into water. Back then, I didn't have the ability to protect mother. If, in the future, anyone dares to use such despicable methods to scheme against my wife, I will make them wish they were dead. Listening to Chui Jinyu's internal monologue, I felt both heartache and deep moved. I was just about to take his hand and comfort him properly, but right at that moment we heard a splash not far from us. Immediately after, a woman came running towards us shouting loudly, "Help! Yenner has fallen into the water. Good son-in-law, please save Yenner." I looked. Goodness, that woman was none other than my father's concubine, Auntie Lu. And the person floundering in the lake not far away was my scheming half-sister, Shun Yenner. Shun Yenner had always admired Chui Jinyu. Auntie Lu spared no effort in raising me to be useless, also that Shun Yenner could marry into the Chui family in my place. However, Chui Jinyu strictly honored the betrothal and married me. I heard that on my wedding day. Auntie Lu and Shun Yenner were so angry they nearly dropped dead on the spot. Today, Shun Yan suddenly falling into the water was clearly a setup. Unfortunately for them, they tried to scheme against Chui Jinyu on this occasion. It was like walking right into the line of fire. Misfortune opening the door for misfortune. The epitome of bad luck. Auntie Lu, please begin your performance. My face remained calm, and I watched the show unfold with a smile. Good son-in-law, please save Yenner. Auntie Lu, full of panic, ran up to Chui Jinyu panting as she spoke. Hearing this, Chui Jinyu's face turned as dark as a pot. He rebuked sternly, "Audacious Lu! You are merely a concubine of the general's manor, a thing not fit for proper occasions. Who gave you the gall to call me good son-in-law?" Auntie Lu's face turned red then white from the scolding, but she quickly changed her address. "Lord Chui, this servant was wrong. Please don't hold it against a lowly person like me. Please save my daughter. She's fallen into the water." "Your daughter falling into the water has nothing to do with me. This garden is full of servants and guards. Instead of finding them, you come to me? Do I look like a professional rescuer to you?" Chui Jinyu reprimanded sharply. Auntie Lu was dumbfounded but still braced herself and said, No, Lord Chui, that's not it. But Yenner is an unmarried maiden. How could she let those male servants and guards touch her? The separation between men and women. Yenner's purity is at stake. Nonsense. Am I not a man? Chui Jinyu's face grew even darker. In this short time, the crowd in the garden had gathered around. Someone fell into the water. It seems to be General Shun's illegitimate daughter, Shun Yenner. Right, her mother, Auntie Lu, is begging Lord Chui to save her. Begging Lord Chui to save her? Do this Lu mother and daughter have some scheme? Not sure. Let's watch. People pointed and discussed, leaving Shun Yenner to continue floundering in the waist-deep water. Lord Chui, I didn't mean it that way. Auntie Lu, flustered, waved her hands hurriedly. Then what did you mean? Chui Jinyu's cold gaze fixed tightly on Auntie Lu. You were thinking that if I saved Shun Yenner, breaking the rules of male-female contact, you could seize the chance to push her onto me as a concubine, isn't that right? Upon hearing this, Auntie Lu's face instantly turned deathly pale. Clearly, Chui Jinyu had hit the mark. Chui Jinyu's voice grew colder. And then you delusionally hoped I would be like my father-in-law, favoring the concubine and neglecting the wife, confusing the hierarchy, letting Shun Yenner dominate my household, throwing her weight around just like you, isn't that right? No, I wouldn't dare. Auntie Lu, terrified, waved her hands repeatedly and took a step back. Chui Jinyu didn't give her a chance to explain. He stepped forward, pressing closer step by step. Wouldn't dare? I think you two have incredibly audacious guts. If I weren't astute and discerning, wouldn't I have fallen into your treacherous plot? By then my wife would be sad and disappointed, would become estranged from me, might even seek suicide, end her life. Afterwards I would be heartbroken, die of sorrow. In the end, Shun Yenner could monopolize my family property, isn't that right? Answer me. Auntie Lu's face was ashen, cold sweat pouring down. You mother and daughter are plotting murder for money. Chui Jinyu pronounced word by word, nailing the nature of the incident with firm, resounding tones. My pupils shook. I looked at Chui Jinyu, my face full of astonishment. I had expected Chui Jinyu to deal with the Lu mother-daughter pair. But I never imagined he would be this ruthless, even more vicious and forceful than I thought. Is this the legendary iron-faced censor? This logic, this eloquence, this sharp tongue? No wonder even the emperor had to yield to him in court debates. Auntie Lu might be sharp-tongued in the inner quarters, but facing the battle-hardened censor Cui, she could only admit defeat. Trembling all over, she collapsed to the ground. Wronged I didn't think that much. Xin Yenner in the lake also forgot to pretend to struggle. With a head full of water weeds and mud, she looked dumbfounded at Cui Jinyu. She just fell into the water. How did she become a murderer? Where is the metropolitan prefect? Cui Jinyu shouted sternly. Lord Cui, your subordinate is here. The metropolitan prefect hurried over, bustling. I want to report a case. The Lu woman and her daughter are malicious and vicious, intentionally setting a trap, attempting to murder me and my wife, coveting my family property. Their hearts deserve execution. Their crimes merit death. Cui Jinyu declared coldly. The onlookers all widened their eyes, staring dumbfounded at this scene. In the past, incidents of women falling into water to entrap men happened occasionally at such gatherings. But this was the first time such an incident was labeled as murder for property. This censor Cui was truly the #1 person in the capital not to be trifled with. Only now did the Lu mother-daughter pair truly become afraid. Xin Yenner didn't need anyone to save her anymore. She climbed ashore herself and hugged Auntie Lu, crying bitterly. To be fair, Cui Jinyu's actions today greatly pleased me. In the past, when facing this mother-daughter pair's schemes, I had to deal with them alone. Now with Cui Jinyu by my side, he directly delivered a crushing blow to them. I didn't even need to say a word. This feeling was truly wonderful. Brother-in-law, Yenner admits it. This time falling into the water was a setup aimed at you. Yenner has admired you for a long time. Even becoming your concubine would satisfy Yenner. But Yenner truly has no intention of murdering for property. Xin Yenner cried. Yes, Lord Cui, we won't dare anymore. Please be magnanimous and let us go. Auntie Lu also cried and begged loudly. Metropolitan prefect? Cui Jinyu ignored them completely and called out sternly again. The metropolitan prefect also had a headache. On one side were the general's concubine and illegitimate daughter. On the other was the iron-faced censor. This was a difficult task. However, obviously the iron-faced censor before him was even more difficult to offend. So the prefect waved his hand and ordered sharply. Men, apprehend the suspects, the Lu woman and her daughter. No. Auntie Lu and Xin Yenner cried in a heap. Good son-in-law, show mercy. My scumbag father arrived at the critical moment. My father, setting aside his dignity, pleaded earnestly in public. Finally, my father promised to immediately send Auntie Lu to a rural estate and confine Xin Yenner to the house for a year. Only then did Cui Jinyu relent. My father, crestfallen, led Auntie Lu and Xin Yenner away. The crowd present had their fill of gossip and dispersed, each satisfied. I was just about to thank Cui Jinyu when I heard a reckless, earth-shattering voice ring out. Cousin! Rui, little cousin! Are you all right? Your cousin is late. I turned to look and saw a green figure rushing over in a frantic hurry. Cousin! The newcomer was my maternal uncle's son, the #1 good-for-nothing in the capital, Huasinian. Huasinian had a face like flawless jade, lips as if rouged, naturally looking the part of a rich young master. Today, he wore an extremely flashy emerald green brocade robe. From a distance, he looked like a green bean caterpillar. Covered all over with fancy sachets and pendants, he was sweating profusely by the time he reached me. Cousin, I heard you fell into the water. It scared me so much I stopped playing polo and rushed over. How are you? Are you all right? Huasinian circled around me nervously. Seeing him like this, I couldn't help but laugh. Cousin, it wasn't me who fell in. It was Xin Yenner. Huasinian patted his chest and let out a long sigh of relief. It's her? That little green tea bitch deserves it. As long as it's not my dear cousin Rui, it's fine. As he spoke, Huasinian pulled the handkerchief from my hand and wiped his sweat haphazardly with it. Hey cousin! I didn't even have time to stop him. Then I heard Cui Jinyu's mournful inner voice. So this is Madame's childhood sweetheart, her white moonlight? White moonlight. I did grow up with Huasinian, but in my eyes he's just a silly fool. I disliked Auntie Lu and Xin Yenner, so I often played at my maternal grandparents' house. Huasinian was about my age and knew all sorts of fun things to do. The two of us, one the useless beauty, the other the good-for-nothing in the eyes of the world, often ate, drank and played together. But to say Huasinian is my white moonlight? That's just ridiculous. I quickly snatched my handkerchief back from Huasinian's hand. Disgusted by the stinky sweat on it, I held it awkwardly, not knowing what to do. Chui Jinyu's face was like still water. He reached out, took the handkerchief from me, and tucked it into his own chest pocket. Huasinian, that blockhead, finally noticed Chui Jinyu. "Oh, so brother-in-law is here too." Then he turned to me excitedly and said, "Dear cousin, look what good thing I found for you," Huasinian said, eagerly pulling a book from his chest. "Your favorite author Haiteng Dongzhu has a new story. I got it for you the moment it came out. That fool Sunning actually tried to snatch it from me, over his head. Cousin, tell me, when has he ever beaten me?" "Last time, fighting over that jadeite hairpin." Huasinian chattered on, not letting anyone else get a word in. Why does he have so much to talk about with Madame? He even knows Madame's preferences so well. No wonder everyone in the capital says they are a match made in heaven. What should I do? My heart aches so. Chui Jinyu's heart was filled with lament. "Madam, I will wait for you up ahead." Chui Jinyu's face was cold as he turned and walked forward. I quickly took the storybook from Huasinian's hand. "Well, cousin, I heard there's cockfighting at the foot of the mountain. Don't you want to go see?" "Cockfighting? Where? I'm going." Huasinian rushed off again as if on wind and fire wheels. Chui Jinyu was waiting for me under a peach blossom tree. The breeze blew, scattering petals like rain. Dressed in white, Chui Jinyu was peerlessly elegant, matchless in his grace. The peach blossoms, though bright, couldn't compare to half his beauty. When I reached his side, I could still hear his sorrowful inner thoughts. Did Madame marry me only because of our childhood betrothal? In her heart, does she actually like Huasinian? This kind of childhood friendship? I can't compare. I walked to his side and actively took his hand, saying to him sincerely, "Husband, thank you for everything you did for me today. It made me very happy." Chui Jinyu looked at me, his face having returned to its usual cool composure. "It was nothing." "Husband," I didn't let him finish but continued, "my cousin and I grew up together. We're more like siblings than actual brother and sister. Cousin is simple and kind by nature. His feelings for me are only those of an older brother towards a younger sister. I hope husband won't misunderstand." Although watching the iron-faced censor secretly jealous was quite amusing, I didn't want any bloody misunderstandings to arise because of it. I have a mouth, so I must speak up immediately. A couple of peach blossom petals drifted past Chui Jinyu's eyes, seeming to stir ripples in his gaze. He nodded with pleasant surprise, tightly holding my hand in return. I believe you, madam." After the spring banquet, the relationship between Chui Jinyu and me clearly grew much closer. I made a small fish lantern for him with my own hands. I took him to make malt candy together. I accompanied him to the temple to light a lamp for his late mother. I helped mend the regrets in his life bit by bit. Each time I received his heart full of moved emotions. I made full use of my golden finger, only reacting according to his inner thoughts, completely ignoring his outwardly cold demeanor. As a result, the aloof and proud censor Chui was often seen accompanying his wife on leisure outings, boating, traveling the mountains, and riding horses. On the streets and alleys of the capital, one could frequently spot Censor Chui buying snacks for his wife or carrying her storybooks. As for matters in the bedchamber, I finally fully unlocked Censor Chui's true capabilities. Although, after unlocking them, I somewhat regretted it. Censor Chui's prowess was truly a bit more than I could handle. The most fun was playing chess with him. Despite my mediocre skills in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting every time, I could accurately predict Chui Jinyu's moves and slaughter him mercilessly. The exceptionally talented Censor Chui was shocked each time, inwardly exclaiming in amazement, "My wife's chess skills are profound, unparalleled in the present world. I cannot compare." One day, it was the temple fair at the Guanyin Temple. Chui Jinyu still accompanied me there. We were dressed like an ordinary couple, strolling around leisurely, which was quite pleasant. "Husband, I'd like to eat the vegetarian noodles at the Guanyin Temple. Will you accompany me?" I asked Chui Jinyu with a smile. "All right." Chui Jinyu replied lightly, but his heart was saying, Madam's preferences are actually the same as mine. I've loved the vegetarian noodles at the Guanyin temple since I was a child. Madam and I are a match made in heaven. I struggled to hold back my laughter inside. So, the two of us went to eat the vegetarian noodles and also offered incense and prayed for his mother. By the time we descended the mountain, it was dusk. The carriage traveled along the mountain path. I leaned against Cui Jinyu's shoulder, drowsy. Suddenly, I heard a sharp whistle. Outside the carriage, birds scattered in alarm, and simultaneously came the shrill neighing of horses. Not good, there are assassins. The thought had just flashed through my mind when I heard the sound of something cutting through the air. Then two sharp arrows, one after the other, shot towards Cui Jinyu with the force of a thunderbolt. Cui Jinyu immediately drew the sword from under the carriage seat and deflected the first arrow. But the second arrow seemed unavoidable. Almost without any hesitation, I threw myself in front of Cui Jinyu. Cui Jinyu knew martial arts. If he was safe, we still had a chance to survive. If he was injured, we were both done for. But the moment I lowered my head, I saw the long arrow piercing through my body, protruding from my chest. Holy crap, can I survive this? Was my last thought before losing consciousness. Madam! I faintly heard Cui Jinyu's heart-wrenching, desperate cry. Then I knew nothing more. When I woke up again, I found I had actually returned to the modern world. I was taking a nap at my desk, my face pressed against the keyboard. On the computer screen in front of me was an unfinished report. Holy crap, so those 10 years of dazzling wealth and luxury were just an illusory dream? I knew it, how could I possibly have that kind of fate? The General's Manor's eldest young lady, the wife of the cold-faced censor. I really dared to dream big. It's just that the dream felt too real. The pain of the arrow piercing my chest seemed to vaguely remain. It hurt so much tears came to my eyes. I pulled out a tissue, about to wipe my tears and blow my nose, when I heard the manager chattering up front. Next, let's warmly welcome our new CEO, President Cui. While blowing my nose, I looked up and saw a tall, slender figure entering the office amidst everyone's applause. The man wore a sharply tailored black suit, his eyes like cold stars, thin lips pressed together, exuding an aloof aura all over. So handsome. Even more handsome than in the photo. A few female colleagues around me let out hopeless, low exclamations. Cui Jinyu. My nose-blowing action froze. The new CEO standing on the platform looked exactly like my dream husband, the iron-faced censor. A few days ago, I knew the new CEO parachuting in was named Cui Jinyu, and his handsome photo had already been circulating wildly in our employee group chat. So during my lunch nap, I couldn't wait to fantasize about our new CEO in my dream. This is exactly the kind of thing a girl like me with a mind full of naughty thoughts would do. Indeed, you can find anything in dreams. But just thinking about those extremely intimate actions with Cui Jinyu in the dream, I couldn't help but blush, feeling very guilty, and didn't dare to look at him anymore. I quickly lowered my head, using the nose-blowing motion as cover. A spring dream leaves no trace. The male lead in the dream was so handsome. I certainly didn't lose out on that dream. Now that the dream is over, it's time to get back to reality. The report isn't finished, there's still a pile of work. The life of a beast of burden must continue. But why do I feel the atmosphere around me is a bit off? I felt as if countless gazes were converging on me. Out of the corner of my eye, I vaguely caught a familiar figure walking towards me. Rui. Is that you? Cui Jinyu actually stopped beside me. The backlight made it hard to see his expression clearly. I only felt his gaze had weight, landing directly on me. Yes, it's me. Hello, President. My name is Shun Rui. I hurriedly stood up, bowing and nodding, fully displaying the humility of a beast of burden. But then the next second, I found myself entirely in Cui Jinyu's embrace. The familiar cold fragrance from my dream rushed straight into my nostrils. Cui Jinyu held me tightly, his whole body seeming to tremble slightly. In a voice that was heart-stopping, he whispered hoarsely in my ear. 10 years. Madam, I've searched for you so desperately. Hiss. I heard the collective sound of my colleagues gasping in shock around me. I also vaguely saw the female colleague at the desk next to me, her mouth wide open, her figure swaying as if about to faint. My brain short-circuited for a moment. After a brief daze, I still struggled free from Cui Jinyu's embrace, awkwardly and nervously saying, "See, Chui. President Chui, you must have mistaken me for someone else. I'm not married. I looked up at him in shock, the images from my dream and the reality before me overlapping and intertwining. His eyes still held that same aloofness, yet when he looked at me, they were filled with boundless affection and longing. Chui Jinyu didn't answer my question. Instead, he swept me up horizontally into his arms, turned to the stunned crowd and said, "Sorry everyone, I have some family matters to attend to first." Under everyone's dumbfounded stares, Chui Jinyu carried me all the way, stuffed me into his Maybach, and sped off to his 800-square-meter luxury mansion. During this time I pinched my thigh many times, repeatedly checking if I was still dreaming and hadn't woken up. But my thigh turned blue and the conclusion remained. I should be awake. "Madam, don't you remember me?" Chui Jinyu stood before me, his voice trembling. Should I remember?" I asked cautiously. A deeply hurt expression appeared on Chui Jinyu's face. "What about this sachet? Does Madam not remember it either?" Chui Jinyu took out a sachet from his person and handed it to me. Oh my heavens, this sachet looked so familiar. How could it be exactly the same as the one I made for Chui Jinyu in my dream? Look at those two mandarin ducks that resembled stupid ducks. Definitely a Shin original, unique in all the world. Could it be that everything in my dream actually happened? What exactly is going on? I was completely bewildered. "Madam, you remember, don't you?" Chui Jinyu's face burst into ecstatic joy. I seem to have had a dream. In the dream I indeed saw you and even married you." I answered truthfully. "Madam, that wasn't a dream. It was another time and space. In that time and space, both you and I truly existed." Chui Jinyu tightly held my hand, as if he would let go and I would disappear. Another time and space. I was truly shocked. I remember last. I was pierced through the heart by an arrow. Right. Hearing this, Chui Jinyu's face showed unbearable pain. He held me tightly against his chest, as if wanting to embed me into his very bones, and said hoarsely, "Why were you so foolish? Who told you to take the arrow for me? So I died back then, right?" I looked up and asked him. Chui Jinyu's throat moved, and he slowly nodded. I kowtowed at every step, going to the Guanyin temple to pray. I begged Guanyin Bodhisattva. I begged all the gods and Buddhas to return my wife to me. Overwhelmed with grief, I fainted in front of the Guanyin hall. When I opened my eyes again, I had arrived in this world. 10 years, madam. I finally found you. I was utterly astonished. However, Chui Jinyu then accurately recounted every detail of our time together, leaving me no choice but to believe that it wasn't just a dream, but something that had actually happened. Chui Jinyu had truly followed me across time and space, chased me to this world, and spent 10 long years searching for me. The setting sun outside the window shone on his profile, just like that day under the lamp, his beauty still at its peak. His forehead pressed against mine, his eyes holding a candor and passion I had never seen before. "Madam, may I marry you again? In our previous life I never even said, 'I love you' before you left me. In this life I will let everyone under heaven know that I love you." With the finality of jade breaking on Kunlun Mountain, as unceasing as the tides of the Eastern Sea. The deep affection in his eyes made my heart ache. I couldn't help but reach out and gently touch his cheek. The scenes from the dream flooded my heart. This was also the person I had loved with all my heart. "Chui Jinyu, I love you too." I held his face and kissed him firmly.
Thank you for listening Beneath the Moonlight. If this story touched your heart, remember to subscribe to Moonlit Love Stories for more tales of love and destiny. Until we meet again, may the moonlight keep you company.